Surrounded by the ocean and with mountains rising to over 3,000 meters, the island of Taiwan has a wide variety of different habitats. This makes for a high level of ecological diversity, with a very large number of different plant and animal species. Running the length of the island from north to south, the Central Mountain Range constitutes a major watershed, forcing rivers to flow either east or west. Taiwan's rivers are relatively short and usually fast-flowing. Most of them follow an independent course to the sea. As a result, the freshwater fish species living in an individual river are often different from those found in other rivers. Varicornis alticorpus can survive only in rivers where the water quality is very high. The presence or absence of this species is thus an important indicator of whether or not a river is polluted. Today, when so many of Taiwan's rivers are polluted, the conservation of the Varicornis alticorpus has become even more important than ever. Varicornis alticorpus is a primary freshwater fish. This means that it spends its whole life in fresh water. It is born in fresh water and breeds in fresh water. Surveys have shown that Varicornis alticorpus is found mainly in rivers in southern Taiwan, including the Gaoping River drainage area and rivers such as the Xiugulan River, the Beinan River, and the Daimali River that run east from the Central Range. These rivers provide the ideal habitat for Varicornis alticorpus, whether in terms of water temperature, rate of flow, the geological makeup of the riverbed, or the overall water quality. Varicornis alticorpus can be found in almost all of the unpolluted, undisturbed stretches of these rivers below an altitude of 1,000 meters. Adult Varicornis alticorpus, both male and female, have breeding tuberties just above their mouths. Varicornis alticorpus have a high protruding back, a long slightly curved body, and a rounded belly. They have small rounded heads with a slight hump on the top of the head. The mouth is wide but short and stretches downward to cover the upper lip. The lower jaw has a sharp cuticular layer that resembles a spade, hence their Chinese name, high-backed spade-jaw fish. Varicornis barbatulus, a close relative of Varicornis alticorpus, lives in these same rivers. Varicornis barbatulus is more widely distributed than Varicornis alticorpus and can be found in almost all Taiwanese rivers. This species prefers to live in stretches of river where the water temperature is lower than 20 degrees Celsius. In the winter, it swims down to the lower reaches of the rivers. Varicornis barbatulus and Varicornis alticorpus can thus sometimes be found in the same stretch of river. The juveniles in particular are very similar, which can make it difficult to tell the two species apart. Like Varicornis alticorpus, Varicornis barbatulus has a shovel-shaped cuticular layer on its jaw. Adult Varicornis alticorpus are larger than adult Varicornis barbatulus, so as the fish get older, identification becomes less of a problem. Varicornis alticorpus's curved body is ideally suited to life in fast-flowing water. They can often be found in rapids, in stretches of river where the presence of different sizes of rocks creates eddies in the current, and at the confluences of two rivers. However, the environment that Varicornis alticorpus likes best is deep pools under cliffs that have been scoured out by fast-flowing water. The depth of the water ensures that the environment in these pools is relatively unaffected by heavy rains or typhoons, thereby providing a more stable existence for the fish that live there. Deep pools of this kind also constitute an important refuge for Varicornis alticorpus in winter, when the water level in Taiwan's rivers can be very low. Fast-flowing stretches of river provides Varicornis alticorpus with a much safer habitat than slower-moving water. Fast-flowing water makes the fish difficult to see, so they are less likely to be noticed by a predator. It is also easier for them to escape if they are spotted. Usually, not much sand is found on the beds of the deep pools and rapids where Varicornis alticorpus lives. Instead, the riverbed is covered with rocks and gravel. The algae that grow on these rocks are the main source of food for Varicornis alticorpus. All in all, whether from the point of view of staying safe from enemies or from the point of view of finding food, the environments in which Varicornis alticorpus has chosen to live are ideally suited to its needs. Like most other herbivorous fish, Varicornis alticorpus eats aquatic algae and plankton. However, where water is flowing very rapidly, the density of plankton in the water tends to be reduced, so Varicornis alticorpus has to rely mainly on the algae growing on the riverbed. In the summer, when heavy rain has been falling and the algae gets washed off the rocks, Varicornis alticorpus will sometimes eat aquatic insects instead. Varicornis alticorpus uses the spade-shaped cuticular layer on its lower jaw to scrape algae off the rocks to eat. It swims up close to a rock and then either dives down or swerves sideways so that it brushes against the rock at high speed. This maneuver is repeated several times. Varicornis alticorpus feed in groups. Individual fish do not have their own exclusive feeding territory. With their relatively large, streamlined bodies, Varicornis alticorpus can swim easily through fast-moving water, where most other freshwater fish would find themselves in difficulties. Other species of fish that are often found together with Varicornis alticorpus include Spinobarbus hollandi, Acrosochaelis paradoxus, and Zacopachycephalus. All of these species have adapted to life in fast-flowing water. In those stretches of the river where the water is clear, several other species can be found living in rapids and riffles. They include Sichiopterus japonicus, which is capable of attaching itself very firmly to rocks, and the bottom-dwelling Homolopteridae and freshwater gobies. In northern Taiwan, rainfall is spread fairly evenly throughout the year, but in the southern and eastern parts of the country, annual precipitation is concentrated in the period from May to October, and in winter, some rivers may dry up almost completely. How do the Varicornis alticorpus, living in the rivers of southern and eastern Taiwan, cope with these dramatic variations? In the summer, an afternoon thunderstorm can cause the water level in the rivers to rise with amazing speed. Some fish find themselves being washed downstream into the lower reaches of the river. Others deliberately swim downstream to find a safer stretch of water. Once the rains are over and the river water starts to clear, those Varicornis alticorpus that were washed downstream start to swim back to the stretch of river where they grew up. Although the fish may only be swimming a few kilometers upstream, the change in elevation can be as much as several hundred meters, which gives some idea of just how big the variations in the river environment can be in Taiwan. In winter, the volume of water in the rivers starts to fall, and so does the water temperature. During this time of the year, the Varicornis alticorpus take refuge in deep pools in the middle and lower reaches of the rivers, where they wait for the summer rains. When the water level has risen high enough, they swim back up to higher elevations. The period from late spring to early summer is the breeding season for Varicornis altocorpus. Adult Varicornis altocorpus lay their eggs in shoals near the riverbank, where the water temperature is relatively high and where the eggs are less likely to be washed away. Once the eggs have hatched, the young fish continue to live in the shallower water near the bank. This is a very dangerous time for the young fish. They could find themselves being eaten by a larger fish at any moment. Young Varicornis altocorpus often form schools in both riffles and stretches of slower-moving water. Large groups of young Varicornis altocorpus and young Acrosochaelis paradoxus can be found feeding together. Because the young Varicornis altocorpus are much smaller than the adult fish, they cannot cope with fast currents. They prefer to live in those stretches of the river where the water flows more slowly. In these sections, the riverbed is covered with rocks and gravel, which have large quantities of algae growing on them. The young fish feed voraciously and soon grow to adult size. They need to perfect their swimming skills before the summer rains begin, so that when rainstorms cause the river to rise suddenly, they will be ready to join the adult fish as they swim off to find a safer stretch of the river. For these little fish, danger is ever present. Whenever something on the bank scares them, they shoot off to hide in the gaps between the stones on the riverbed. Usually, what has frightened them is a member of the heron family hunting for food. Another enemy that the young Varicornis altocorpus need to keep an eye out for is the kingfisher, who sits on a branch near the riverbank, scanning the river for prey. The young Varicornis altocorpus will have many challenges to overcome if they are to survive and grow to adulthood.